Good evening. I hope you will join me again in Matthew 5 to 7 in just a few minutes. Glad you're here. Glad to be able to be a part of this kingdom lectureship talking about the king and the king's people. If y'all are wondering, I'm fine. I'm just trying to enhance my stability, so I'm gonna be grounded tonight and sitting, if that's okay with y'all. Matthew 5 to 7. The king is on the mountain, and when the king speaks, people listen. The king has authority. The king is one who he's, I want you to be with me. The king wants us to be with wants us to be with him. So in the previous lessons, Nick talked about in our Bible class lesson in Matthew, the prepared kingdom. Matthew chapter 3, John came preaching, repent for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Which gives another prepared kingdom, a pending kingdom, a kingdom that is coming. And then in our Bible, in our worship hour, Jim and Nick told us how to prepare for the kingdom, what type of people will be in the kingdom, and what type of people will be out of the kingdom. And then we talked about last night in this study from Matthew 5 to 7, the king. When the king speaks, listen. He has authority. The king has a mission. Will you be a part of the mission of the king? And finally, we looked at how the king provides for his subjects. So we looked at the king of the people. What does Matthew 5 to 7 reveal about the king and his people? Well, now we are going to look at the people of the king. What qualities are they to possess? How are they going to live their lives? How are they going to operate in this kingdom? So in Matthew 5 and verse 3 we read this. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. You have to be poor in spirit. You have to be humble. Mount says this about this word. It's akin to and the alternate of a beggar. That is a pauper, strictly denoting absolute public mediancy. Although also used in a qualified or related sense, whereas properly means only straitened circumstances and privately, literally often as a noun or figuratively distressed, beggarly, poor. This denotes one of humble position, one that is beggarly, one that sees his need for Jesus. I want you to notice these two words. So you may have seen someone on the side of the road seeking human kindness, someone who doesn't have a home, somebody who has to beg for a living. This is the disposition of citizens of the kingdom. Citizens in God's kingdom are poor in spirit. They beg for God's mercy. And then in verse 6, we have this. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be filled. Jesus wants a people who are hungry and thirsty for right things, righteousness, pursuing what's right, doing what's right. God wants people who are motivated and fueled by what is right. And so, again, there's this blessing here. They shall be filled. If you are seeking the kingdom of God, if you are hungering after the kingdom, the promise is you are going to be filled. You'll be satisfied. They shall be satisfied. Citizens of the kingdom hunger and thirst for righteousness. And that makes sense because the king himself offers to be the bread of the citizens. In John 6:35, Jesus said to them, those he's speaking to, I am the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall never hunger. Whoever believes in me shall never thirst. Jesus says that those who come and those that believe in him shall never hunger. Those who come and believe in him shall never thirst. And so, if you're hungry and thirsty after righteousness, it's a good thing we have a king that is made of food, who is the bread of life that sustains the hungry. That's why the subjects follow the king, follow after righteousness. For hunger, probably. So, we are to be beggarly, poor, meek, humble. We are to pursue right things. In fact, be hungry. I know hunger very well. If you've ever met me, what am I always saying? I'm hungry. 10 years over there agreeing. And Jesus says, if you are hungry, if you're thirsty, if you want righteousness, come to me. You're going to be filled in this kingdom. What if you're persecuted? Look down at verse 10 and 12 through 12. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you and persecute against you and utter all kinds of evil against you, falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For so they persecuted the prophets before you. Notice, blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness. What do they get? Why are they happy? That word blessed, that idea of happy are those. Why? Because they get the kingdom of heaven. See, this is what this week's about, being citizens of the kingdom, and Jesus' Spirit, those who are persecuted are blessed, because even when you're persecuted for righteousness' sake, for standing up for what's right, yours is the kingdom of heaven. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. What are qualities of kingdom citizens? They're poor in spirit. They have a low disposition of themselves. They're humble. They're meek. They're beggarly. They recognize that I can't really stand before my king. They hunger and thirst after righteousness. They seek the king's good. They want to be fed by the king. After all, true righteousness comes only by the king. And so they're hungering after what the king provides. Sadly, they're also persecuted. Persecuted. Citizens of the kingdom are persecuted. The world hates them. Jesus said in John 15 to his disciples, don't be surprised when they hate you, because know that they hated me before they hated you. But citizens of the kingdom have a reward. In verse 3 and verse 10, talking about those who are poor in spirit and those who are persecuted, their reward is also defined. They will inherit the kingdom prepared for you, prepared for us. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This takes us all the way back to yesterday morning. Are you going to hear well done? Are you going to inherit the kingdom? So point number 1 from the Sermon on the Mount is kingdom citizens have changed their character. They live differently. They're hungry. They're thirsty. Look at verse 14. That's not all that kingdom citizens have changed. Does somebody want to read this on the screen for me? 14 to 16. I know I got 10 through 12, but it's 14 to 16. Go ahead, Jim.
Saltiness be restored. It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under the people's feet. You are the light of the world. The city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand. Give light to all in the house. The same way let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven.
So kingdom citizens are two things. They're salt of the world, they're the salt of the earth, and the light of the world. What is so significant about these two things? What is Jesus telling citizens of his kingdom? Well, first there's salt. Salt enhances the flavor of things. Go back to verse 10 for just a moment. So, sorry, verse 13. I don't know what's up with my labeling. You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? Salt is used to enhance flavor. We are to enhance the world about us. Salt preserves things. It keeps things fresh. If you put seasoning, it enhances the flavor, but it also is a preservative as well. Somebody read Colossians 4 and verse 6. Go ahead, Edward.
Colossians 4, verse 6. Let your speech always be gracious, seasoned with salt, so that you may know how you ought to answer each person.
So salt preserves. We are to be gracious. Let our words be seasoned with salt. Speak tender words. And of course, salt, if you get it in your eyes, it stings. Being different stings. Being the salt of the earth can sting you, can sting others. If you've ever had salt on a burn, you don't want that. That stings. And so we have this quality about us. Then Jesus says that kingdom citizens are light. And light shines. Look at verse 16 of our text. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. Light stands out. Light shines. In Ephesians 5, 11 through 13, if somebody can read that for us in just a minute. Light exposes darkness. Have you ever been in a dark room and if we were to turn the lights off in the auditorium, we're not going to do that now, obviously, but if we were, I do have a guy back there, but if we were, you would be dark. You probably wouldn't be able to see as well. Maybe you'll have to say, is Nick back there, or is that just a shadow? Well, if you turn the lights back on, it exposes who's in the room. I can see everybody's beautiful, shining face. It exposes. So, does somebody have Ephesians 5, 11 through 13? Lance, and then you can be turning to Psalm 119, 105. Please.
Ephesians 5, 11 to 13 have nothing to do with fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. For it is shameful even to mention what the disobedient do in secret. But everything exposed by the light becomes visible.
Alright, did I stop you? No,
No, that's the end.
Oh,
You want to
okay.
read 14?
Yeah, read 14.
For it is light that makes everything visible.
Alright. Go ahead.
That is why it is said, wake up, O sleeper, rise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you.
That's the end of the sentence. Light exposes. That's why we are children of light. And Paul says there, whoever is of the darkness will not come to the light because they know that their deeds will be exposed. That's what light does. Is light guides. Psalm 119, 105.
What part you want me to go?
Just 105.
Just 105, okay. Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path.
So God to our feet and a light to my way. It shows me how to. Light guides me. Light leads me. We are to lead others. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world. 2 Corinthians 3:3 tells us that we are living epistles read by everybody, not written on stone, but engraved in the tablets of human heart. Kingdom citizens are to influence the world around them. Kingdom citizens first are to, boy, should I have the list? Kingdom citizens have changed their character. Well, now kingdom citizens are to have influence over those around them. Next, we see in Matthew 5 and verse 20. For I say to you that unless your righteousness exceeds the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, you will no means enter the kingdom of heaven. Well, the Pharisees, to the Jewish mind, this is a pretty impossible task. What do you mean, Jesus? My righteousness needs to surpass the righteousness of my leaders. They're righteous. They wear their phylacteries long. They have scriptures on their head. Well, Jesus says, your righteousness needs to surpass that. And really what he's going to say is, that's not going to be very hard for you to do. See, the Pharisees were self-righteous, but they weren't righteous toward God. They made rules in the sand, and kingdom citizens are to have a righteousness that exceeds all religious elites and all ruling officials. And so, Jesus gives some examples of how our righteousness needs to exceed that of the Pharisees. I'm going to say two things in this section. You've heard, but I say to you. The righteousness of the Pharisees says, you shall not murder. Verse 21. You've heard that it was said of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be in danger of the judgment. Well, he says, I say, don't even be angry with your brother. Go beyond that. Exceed the Pharisees' righteousness in that. You've heard that it was said, don't even commit adultery. But verse 27. But I say to you, don't look to lust. Verse 28. Go beyond. The Pharisees said, Moses said, give your wife a divorce. Divorce your wife. You've heard that whoever who it has been said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. I can divorce my wife for pretty much any reason under the old covenant. If my wife burnt the potatoes, that was grounds for divorce pretty much. Just give her a bill of divorcement. Not so in my kingdom. I say don't divorce except for sexual immorality. Stay together, honor that union. The religious elite said, if you have enough, perform what you vowed. Verse 33. Again, you said that it was said to those of old, do not swear falsely, but perform your vows to the Lord. Perform your vows. Make vows, but make sure you do them. Jesus said, not so with my people. My people say yes or no. They don't need to swear. Verse 37. The Pharisees said, get even with my neighbor. Verse 38, you've heard that it was said, eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. Get even. If somebody punches you, punch harder, sock them back. And Jesus again says, not so in my kingdom. If somebody slaps you on the right cheek, give them the left also. If somebody wants to take away your cloak, take away your tunic, give them your cloak. If somebody wants to force you to go 1 mile, go with them 2. My people are different. This is righteousness that exceeds the religious, so-called religious elites. And finally, Jesus says, how far did I go? Wow. I've got to remember not to press on this button too much. Jesus says, love your enemy. Excuse me, not Jesus. The Pharisees would say, love your enemy and hate your neighbor. Love your neighbor and hate your enemy. See, they're already wrong. And Jesus says, not so with my kingdom. Love your enemies. Pray for those who persecute you. All of these get to the very heart of God's commands. God didn't want lists. God didn't want people who follow lists but he wanted people who would follow the Lord. And the Pharisees would say, just don't cross this line. Jesus says, if you want to be in my kingdom, you're going to have to change. This is what kingdom citizens do. In Matthew 15, Jesus further illustrates his point. Do you not see that whatever goes into the mouth passes into the stomach and then is expelled? But what comes out of the mouth proceeds from the heart, and this defiles a person. For out of the heart come evil thoughts, murder, adultery, sexual immorality, theft, false witness, slander. These are what defile a person, but to eat with unwashed hands does not defile anyone. No, Jesus, in this section also, was dealing with ritualistic religion. The Pharisees had put many different boundaries, and one of them was hand washing. You have to wash your hands to be holy, to purify yourself. And he says, look, this isn't what I want. It's not what goes into your mouth that defiles a man, but it's what's from the heart. And then he gives a list of sins of the heart: evil thought, sexual immorality, theft, false witnesses. And he says these are what defile a person. It's not on the outside. See, kingdom people have changed their hearts. Kingdom citizens have changed their hearts. Remember Matthew 5 and verse 20? For I tell you, unless your righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Well, this comes into play right as you get into chapter 6, because he's going to say, when you give to the needy, don't sound a trumpet, don't shout it into the street. By the way, Matthew 23, that's exactly what they were doing. Look at me. They make their flames long, the scribes and Pharisees. Truly I say to you, they have received their reward. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you. Jesus says, don't be like the scribes and Pharisees. Don't give to the needy and sound a trumpet, because they have the reward. But when you do it, don't do it in secret. Don't be showboating. This may be what you see with your leaders, but if you want to be in my kingdom, not so with my people. And then we have the end of the chapter, when he gets into fasting. And when you fast, do not look gloomy like the hypocrites, for they disfigure their faces, that their fasting may be seen by others. Truly I say to you, they've received the reward. But you, when you fast, anoint your head and wash your face, that your fasting may be seen by others. That your fasting may not be seen by others, but by your Father who sees in secret, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. Those who would fast in Jesus' day, the religious people, would look gloomy. They would go out belly aching, make themselves look like they haven't eaten, to give religious attention to the fact that they're fasting. And you may be getting tired of me saying these words, but it's not so with kingdom people. When you fast in secret, don't make a big show of it. That the Father who sees in secret will reward you openly. Kingdom citizens seek God's approval. They don't seek man's. They don't do things to be seen of man. Do you want to be a citizen of the kingdom that we're talking about this week? Seek God's approval. Kingdom citizens have their treasures somewhere else. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy, where thieves break in and steal, but lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Do you know what the Pharisees' treasure is? The temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. You know that they were saying in Matthew 18, if anybody swears by the temple, it means nothing. But if you swear by the gold of the temple, oh, now you're obligated to keep it. That's where their treasure is. Not so with my people, Jesus says. Their treasure is in heaven because wrath and must will destroy the things on this earth. Thieves will break in and steal things of this earth. So they lay up for themselves treasures in heaven. And notice, he goes into the heart of the matter. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. You know what the King wants from you every day? Do you want to know what that is? A changed heart. I want your heart. I want you to live differently, and not just live differently, but be transformed. Your heart will be also. So, kingdom citizens then store their treasure with the king. They don't store it here on earth because they know that one day this earth will burn. And one day all that will be left is a place with the king. And if you're not ready, you're not going. It'll be a sad day. Almost lastly, I got two more, so bear with me. Kingdom citizens strive to enter into a narrow gate. Enter by the narrow gate, for the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction. And those who enter it by it are many, for the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few. Notice, Jesus tells his citizens to enter into the narrow gate in chapter 7 because life. The way leads to life. It's hard. Jesus challenges his people to go and kick against the goats. But there's also a wide gate. A way that is easy, but that leads to eternal destruction. Many are they that go in thereat. So kingdom citizens follow the narrow path to their king. People that they shut out all distractions and they strive to enter into the narrow gate. They realize that many is the people who would go in at the wide, easy gate, but they will agonize, strive, that word strive back here, agonize, enter, agonize to follow the path to their king. This is what kingdom living looks like. This is what kingdom citizens do. They are not looking for the easy way out. They're not looking where everybody else is going, but they're following all the way to their king. And lastly, look down at Matthew 7:15-20. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapevines gathered from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but the diseased tree bears bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a diseased tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. And thus you will recognize them by their fruits. Jesus starts this section off with a warning. Beware of false prophets that come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. And he says you're going to recognize them by their fruits. You're going to know you're going to know false prophets by what they're doing, what they're saying. And he asks them questions. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? No. Because you can see the type of fruit. Thus you will recognize them by their fruits. Kingdom citizens follow the king. Kingdom citizens do a few things. And tonight we've looked at 6 things, well, really 7. I didn't put in the last one. We've looked at 6 things. Kingdom citizens have changed their character. They hunger and thirst after righteousness. They're meek. They are poor in spirit. When they're persecuted, they bless. They are to have influence in the world round about them. We live in a dark world, y'all. It's getting darker every moment. Let's light it up. Jesus says, my people are the salt of the earth and the light of the world. My people have changed their hearts. Not merely the outward attitudes and actions, but transform themselves and transform their hearts. Kingdom citizens seek the king's approval and not man's. They don't do things to be seen by men because they give glory to their king. They don't disfigure their faces when they fast. They don't give long pretensive prayers. Do you know why? Because their righteousness exceeds that of the scribes and Pharisees. They do everything to seek the king's approval. They store their treasure with the king. They know that this world is not their home, and that this world and everything in it will pass away, but they're going home. And they have their treasure there. And then they follow the path. They follow the narrow path that leads straight to the heart of the king. We talked about on Sunday night the people of the king of the people, how he has authority. He is holy. He is righteous. We need to listen to him. But here's what these 6 things people of the king do. Let's see.